All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, folks. We're a week away from the start of the NFL draft. The Washington Commanders have the second overall pick. I believe they're going to be selecting Jaden Daniels, but nonetheless, they've had a stellar offseason thus far. It's clearly a much better, much improved roster from last season. I get it. You lost guys like Cody Barton. You lost Jacoby Brissett. You lost some guards. You lost Cam Curl, Kendall Fuller, Antonio Gibson, whatever. But you picked up Nick Allegretti, Doris Armstrong, Tyler Biadasz, Jeremy Chin, Austin Eckler, Dante Fowler, Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner. You still have over $40 million in cap space. I get it. They're going to figure out the quarterback position in 1 week from today. You need some offensive tackle depth. You need some cornerback help. But you are about to see the Washington Commanders do exactly what the Houston Texans did last season if Jaden Daniels or whoever they select in the first or the second pick in the first round is who they think they're going to be. Folks, Dan Quinn, in the 2 seasons before Dan Quinn, the new head coach for the Washington Commanders, right before he took over in Atlanta, the Falcons combined for 10 wins in the previous 2 seasons. 2 years later, 2 years into Dan Quinn's tenure with the Atlanta Falcons, they made the Super Bowl. They made the Super Bowl. Folks, the Washington Commanders are about to shock the NFL. But to me, it's not even that much of a shock because you're about to get your franchise QB and you just made a bunch of stellar offseason acquisitions. So, folks, before we get any further into today's video, if you enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. We post a ton of Commanders videos on this channel. Commanders fans, I hope you're hyped. One thing, obviously Washington has the second overall pick in this year's NFL draft, but what I think a lot of people don't understand or even know is they also have 2 second-round picks early, pick 36 and pick 40 from the Chicago Bears. You have 3 third-rounders, 2 fifth-rounders, and a 7th-round pick. Just looking once again at the key additions from Washington this offseason, the offensive line was huge. They were huge. Washington Commanders last season ranked dead last in both total defense and points allowed last season, and they also surrendered 65 sacks. That's where we're going to insert Tyler Biadasz, a star center, and Nick Allegretti. You're also going to make some moves at the offensive line, the offensive tackle position in the draft. This is quote-unquote a loaded historical offensive tackle draft. So having 3 third-round picks and 2 second-round picks and having the second pick overall, you are about to completely revamp your already revamped team. Now, here's the thing that I absolutely love what they did. Familiarity. They went after familiar players. So the Commanders, in my opinion, did a very good job of bringing in familiar, comfortable players with who Dan Quinn is familiar with, right? That sentence sounded a little bit confusing, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying at here. I get it. They overpaid for a couple of veterans. Bobby Wagner coming off a career season. He had like 183, 184 total tackles. I get it. He's a little bit on the older side, but it's more so about what he can provide the rest of the Washington, not only defense, but especially the linebacker room. Clelin Ferrell, Doris Armstrong on the defensive edge. They lost Montez Sweat. They lost Chase Young at last year's trade deadline. But this new revamped linebacker room paired up with Dan Quinn, who once again is a great defensive mind, a great defensive head coach. Frankie Louvu, in my opinion, and Davis as well at the linebacker spot, they could turn, honestly, both of them could turn into stars. My money's on Frankie Louvu because I think that was one of the more underappreciated, underrated signings of the entire offseason. But folks, when we take a look at the offensive side of things, I still think they're going to draft a tight end. I still think, I like Zach Ertz. I get it, but it's a little bit underwhelming in my opinion. They're going to draft a tight end at some point, whether it's the second round or the third round. It's not like a huge pressing need, but it is a need. They did make a nice move at the wide receiver slot, and you still have Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin. But you need to continue to surround your rookie QB with weapons. So I think they're going to take a wide receiver probably in the third round. I think they're going to take a tight end at some point in this draft. But I really think Austin Eckler is going to go a very long way on this Washington Commanders team. This was one of those moves where people, I think, just overreacted to it. people looked at the money and they were freaking out. And, we all remember that viral tweet last season. I can't remember who it was against. I think it was against my Green Bay Packers, where Austin Eckler was banged up and he was running a little bit slow and people were freaking out. Austin Eckler is the definition of a do-it-all back, like the definition of it. And when you're going to go out there and you're going to draft a rookie QB, and we're going to pair him up, Austin Eckler, by the way, with Brian Robinson Jr., who's still got a lot of hype around him, it's just going to make all the difference in the world, not only in the run game, but in the pass game, in the running back block game. You get what I'm going at. Austin Eckler is so versatile. He's so dynamic. He's a playmaker. He's going to be great in the red zone. You have to surround your rookie QB. Once again, your hopeful franchise QB for the next 10 seasons. You got to surround him with help. And if you have to overpay for a veteran in Austin Eckler who's coming off a really down season, that doesn't do anything negative to me. I really think 1 year to this date right here, Thursday, April 18th, we're going to be going back and looking at that Austin Eckler pickup, even if he doesn't break the stat sheet, as one of the more underrated moves of the entire 2024 offseason. So I really like it because, once again, Washington, dead last in sacks. They were horrible. The offensive line was horrible, and they've improved it with Nick Allegretti. They've improved it with Tyler Biadasz. There's two starters right there, and you've got all this draft capital, and you're going to help out your rookie QB with offensive line help. You got to win in the trenches. I do have some, not even like issues or worries with the defensive end or the defensive line, because you still got Deron Payne. You still have Jonathan Allen. I think Dorrance Armstrong has been begging for a full-time starter spot, and I think paired up with Dan Quinn, coming from the Dallas Cowboys, Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator in Dallas. I think, I'm looking at guys like Frankie Louvu and Dorrance Armstrong as breakout stars. And it reminds me of what Houston did last season, obviously with C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr., but even getting a little bit deeper, like Frankie Louvu, I think is going to have a Blake Cashman type of vibe, like they did in Houston. I think Dorrance Armstrong's going to have a Jonathan Greener type of vibe next season. So you don't need all of these to hit. You don't need Nick Allegretti, Dorrance Armstrong, Tyler Biadasz, Jeremy Chin, Austin Eckler, Dante Fowler, Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner. You don't need every single free agent acquisition to hit. You don't need every single draft pick to hit. But if a couple of them do, watch out for the Washington Commanders. I get it. It's a difficult division they're in with Dallas. You've got Philadelphia. I get it, but I would not be surprised. In fact, I'm kind of anticipating if Jaden Daniels is who we think he is and they draft him, I think Washington's going to be above 500, and I would not count out a 10-7 season from the Washington Commanders. That's it from me. I got a cough. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content, and give me your thoughts on the Washington Commanders offseason thus far. Peace.